Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Oscars 2016 post-show. We've kind of added some people and subtracted some people. John Campia was supposed to be here, but he fell a little sick, so he had to take off. But we've been added with Christian Harloff over there.
Hey, everybody.
And John Schnepp over here.
What's going on?
I'm joined by Mark Ellis.
That's right. We've been here the whole time, and we all felt a little sick watching that Best Supporting Actor, right?
And Perry Nemiroff.
I'm back.
Yes.
I survived.
So let's start off with you, Christian.
Yeah.
You were on the red carpet covering for Fandango. Tell us a little bit about your experience covering it and then kind of your thoughts overall of this Oscars.
I mean, look, as a movie fan in general and why we do this in the first place, it was surreal to be there. Because I was looking through the list and I've seen most of the movies on the list, especially for the big awards. And to watch everybody come through, like with Brie Larson and, Rooney Mara came in and I was like, oh, this is so amazing to watch these people that I respect and that I admire their work. And then I got to talk to J.K. Simmons and I spoke to Henry Cavill and it was just, as being a fan of films, it was a great experience. So I thank Movie Clips and Fandango for that. As far as the overall experience with the awards.
Is that what you wore? On the red
I did. No, I went nude. I was nude. Yeah, I was nude.
Totally naked guy.
Yeah, I was right. I was wondering why I didn't get a lot of interviews. But I actually, the overall experience of what I was watching tonight, I think that it pretty much went the way I thought it would for the most part. With the Best Supporting Actor, which you alluded to before, I think that I said I thought Stallone was going to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Rylance got it, and I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, I was talking big about how I think that he would win, that he should win, everything Stallone, and that's partially because I was in Philly yesterday, and I took like 900 pictures around Rocky, various sites in those movies, so I wanted him to win, but Mark Rylance, and we've been saying it since we saw the movie, was phenomenal. He was the best part of a Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg movie.
That's movie.
No easy task when you're going up against those guys. So it was a deserved win for him. I just personally wanted to see Stallone. But overall, Dennis, I thought the Oscar ceremony from the start, from the opening salvo with Chris Rock into the fact that they were playing they're playing an NWA song leading out of the Oscars. And it's like, this was clearly about the hashtag Oscars so white and the boycotts that might be going on and making the Oscars more diverse going forward. This Academy Awards show wanted to make a statement, and it certainly did that. And the way that it did it without it felt like he was beating you over the head was because a lot of it was done through humor. I thought that was pulled off very, very well.
And also, I think Chris Rock himself walked that fine line. I mean, I know I saw, obviously, people are going to complain or whatever, but I thought that he walked a fine line where he was saying that, look, this is an issue, and it's a big issue, but it's not the biggest issue. He also made jokes like, hey, like Jada Pinkett Smith, it's not the biggest thing in the world. You don't have to go all crazy about it. But at the same time, he acknowledged what it was, and you're right, with humor, he was able to kind of diffuse some of. I mean, I think at first a lot of the people were afraid to laugh, but I think as they went on, I think they kind of got into the spirit of it.
Yeah, and I think as a performer doing the opening monologue, it wasn't the smoothest monologue I've ever seen in my life, but for what he was going for the political topics he was going to tackle, this wasn't just Billy Crystal going out and doing a great song and dance number. He was talking about some serious issues and trying to make them funny. So while it wasn't the smoothest one I've ever seen, I still think it was an important one.
There was also like a really positive tone to it. Like he was very smiley, and just his delivery, it felt not necessarily antagonistic. Like he was addressing the points that we need to be talking about, but he was having fun, and he was trying to engage the audience and get everyone to have fun and kind of look on the bright side of all this.
See, I missed all of that. I just came in on like the second award was already given out, so I didn't get any of that controversial opening sequence or the uneasiness. I didn't feel any of that. I just was like, oh, it's just like a regular Oscars. Oh, he's pointing some stuff out in a couple of his sketches. So I thought, I agree with you. The humor was a way to address a lot of the, Oscars so white situation by just making fun of it straight up. So I didn't miss all that. I guess I'm gonna have to watch that later and then.
But it
see
wasn't.
If it was controversial.
In my mind, it wasn't so controversial though. I thought he balanced it very well. And did you see the one sketch with Leslie Jones and the having him saved as the black astronaut?
I did not.
No, okay, that one was pretty funny.
That must have been right up at the top.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, if I was just a viewer at home by myself, just kicking back on my couch watching this, I might have thought, like, okay, it's another joke. But we were at a party. There was a lot of stuff going on where we were paying attention to the show for sure, but there were conversations going on during the commercials and stuff. So maybe that adds to some of the levity that we felt watching it. I'm very curious to hear how everybody at home felt watching it. If they thought it was too much of a message and not enough of just like celebrating movies.
Listen, I'm sure that they thought they were lot of people out there that might have thought it was repetitive, and I guess I can understand some people if they were saying that, but I think it needed to be done. I think that because of what happened and the way that so many people were outspoken about it and so many people took a stand on it, that you're absolutely right. You had, in order to do it this way, you don't just say it up top and there's a couple of jokes and it's forgotten about. You make it a part of the theme because guess what? Chris Rock is black. It was also the fact that he was set to host this show before any of this went down, and I thought it was great that he was able to do it this way and that the writers were able to do it this way, and they embraced it. They just said, let's go for it the whole way. So I thought it was well done from start to finish.
And he even addressed where he's like, oh, a lot of people wanted me to step down, and he's like, no, I'm not going to step down.
Right.
I'd rather do it. They're going to do the Oscars anyway. Might as well be me that does it. I get a job out of it, and then I get to say kind of what I want to say.
Yeah.
That also probably would have been taking a major step back with this whole issue if he did drop out.
Yep.
Because
Right.
then you have the whole issue of who are they going to replace him with? And I have a feeling whoever they chose to do that wouldn't have been the right person anyway.
And he sold a lot of Girl Scout cookies. Because I was like, man, I want a couple of those Thin Mints right now. What's up, man? So,
I mean, personally for me, I can't even remember. Maybe it was like Billy Crystal, or maybe when Steve Martin and Alec Baldwin, I think they did a tag team hosting job. This is my favorite host since one of those. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
I thought Chris Rock did a great job, especially with all that weird controversy. It's fun to see them like take the air out of it with humor, and then also everyone just in agreement. Like, yeah, it's weird. Let's move forward. Let's make let's make adjustments now. Or
Better than his last time, I'll tell you that.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think he was a little more comfortable too. And the way that he teamed up with the production design of the show, I thought made such a seamless, and it was a very streamlined show. Whereas, like, I thought the Ellen selfie thing was a good concept, and it took a while to get to. That pizza delivery thing a couple years ago took a while to get to. Here, all the bits, all the concepts they had in addition to the awards really felt quick. They went by. It's like, oh, I see what you're going for. You did it. Even the Girl Scout cookie thing, which could have taken years to get through.
Right.
They opened it up. They did it. Then we had the Minions go on stage. The best thing this show did is everybody who won, they go ahead and they thank people. It's like scrolling at the bottom.
Yeah.
So where you don't have
That
to
was
mention
cool.
everybody. They cut people off quick, and for the most part, I think it's the right call.
Yeah, you know, look, the show's over 3 hours long or whatever it is, 4 hours long, and there's only so many times you could watch something where you're just like, okay, when is this over? So I
Right.
thought because of the way that it was written and the way it was paced out, that was the best we've had in a very long time. Because a lot of times it'll start out with a nice monologue and then it just fizzles and people just give up and they go, oh, the next person. And then, see, I missed it. I think I missed this. Did the Academy president come out and talk?
Yes, she did.
She was
That's
actually
my-
really good.
Really?
That was
Yeah.
really
It's usually
good.
my
Clearly,
least.
I missed one of the best parts.
See, that's usually my least favorite part. It's usually because it's just like it was really good though. Like what?
Well,
did
yeah,
they say?
usually it was again. It's talking about the message of this year's Oscars, where it's
Okay.
like if it's the president of the Oscars talking
Right.
about how we do need to get more diverse. I thought it was a great message. So
Okay, well, that's-
it worked this year.
You're right. It's okay because she actually had something to say that was relevant to the entire show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, let's get on to the winners. What was the biggest surprise for you, Perry? Like, what was the biggest person that won or thing that won, movie that won that...
I'm going with the obvious. It's Sylvester Stallone. I mean, I was sitting there so ready to like be happy for him. I mean, I almost told you to tweet your picture like before it even was announced because I was so sure he was going to win. But like, I'll agree with you guys too. I thought Mark Rylance was fantastic, and it's not that he doesn't deserve the award, but I liked the sly narrative, and I wanted him to win, and I'm sad for him that he didn't.
I wanted the other Mark to win, Mark Ruffalo. Because I thought his job in Spotlight, which I think is a far superior film to Bridge of Spies. I look at like Bridge of Spies as like the weird TV movie that the Coen brothers and Spielberg popped up and like, hey, let's have Tom Hanks in it. It's definitely got a big budget. It just didn't hit it for me on an emotional level. It felt very by the numbers. So many things. It was like, now this has to happen. It felt very mechanical, even though it was beautifully shot. It's obviously a Spielberg film. Tom Hanks is an incredible actor. And I'll say the same thing about Mark Rylance. I thought it was like his role in that film was great, but it didn't actually do what I felt an Oscar-winning performance should have won, like Mark Ruffalo's, which is part of a whole team. Spotlight did win for Best Picture. And I loved Ruffalo's performance. So I felt like out of all the performances, including Sly's, I thought that's the one that should have happened. But I don't hate that Rylance won. I kind of hate that he won.
Yeah,
I'm glad that he won.
It's I'm kind of on the other side of that because I want Stallone to win. I'm praying and hoping that Stallone's going to win. No one listen to my prayers. But I will say that with Rylance, because I agree in regards to Bridge of Spies being an okay movie. It was a well-made movie,
Yeah, it's really
but it didn't have that Spielberg magic to it, for sure. But when Ellis and I saw that film, I remember going, because I wasn't very familiar with Rylance. I'm sure that, he's one of those guys that he had popped up and stuff, but he didn't really stand out the way he did in that film. Like that was the one thing I took away. He stole that movie from Tom Hanks.
Definitely.
And so I thought it was a powerful enough performance. I agree that Ruffalo was good too, but there were so many great, and I love Spotlight. I think Spotlight deserved to win Best Picture. I know a lot of people might disagree, but I think that Rylance was a guy that really came out swinging for that role. I thought it was really powerful and a really just hardcore acting performance.
Yeah, and I'll take a page out of Louis C.K.'s speech where it's like, who needed this award the most? Mark Rylance did, Sylvester Stallone's doing just fine in his life. He's got every action star over the age of 50 in his cell phone. He can call them and make a movie. Mark Rylance could use this Oscar to further his career.
Ruffalo's the Hulk.
Well, Ruffalo's already got everything too. And if you go to a different category, I'd probably, but by the time directing actually happened, because I thought that Inarritu was going to win for The Revenant, but seeing all the love that Mad Max was getting, even every time they ran the Mad Max clips on the screen, the crowd went crazy. And by the time we got to there, I was like, George Miller's going to steal this award, and he ended up not. And so by the time the award actually happened, I was happy, but a little surprised that they did give it to Inarritu.
Yeah, I think that the technical awards, even though they're great, it's just I don't think they're an indicator for who's going to win Best Director or Best Picture. I mean, I think even screenplay or adapted screenplay, I think those are more of an indicator of who's going to actually win. Mark Rylance actually wasn't a surprise for me because I picked him on our pre-show to win this. Not because I wanted him to. I just saw a lot of momentum going that way. I personally wanted Tom Hardy or Sylvester Stallone to win. My big surprise, and it wasn't like I hated it or anything like that because I liked the movie a lot. I was surprised that Ex Machina won Best Visual Effects.
Yeah.
I was so psyched because I got to talk to one of the guys on that team a couple weeks ago. And, when I did the interview, it's like, should I really be doing this right now? Who's going to want to read it? And it turns out, he was just filled with so much information and, so much stuff about what it took to make that robot work, that the AI work, where I didn't even expect it. And then on top of that, I asked him about all the stuff beyond Ava. There's still set extensions, screens. They changed that building was a hotel. I mean, there's just so many things that you don't think of that went into that. When they're holding the blue brain, that took so much work. So this team really did something special, and I was really excited to see them being recognized.
Yeah, Ex Machina definitely was surprising. But I mean, I get this magazine called Cinefex, which is just for special effects nerds, and they had Star Wars, and they also have Ex Machina.
Is that the title of the magazine?
Yeah.
Like that. Cinefex just for special effects.
Totally, that should be what the subtitle of that magazine for
This
extra.
is for John Schnepp.
Yeah, or nerds who enjoy looking at before and after pictures of weird special effects. So anyway, what they did with the actress and how they just every single time you see her, it's a full CG replacement except for just the one part of her face. Every scene that she's in, it's all CG and it's seamless. And that's what is one of the greatest special effects is one that when you don't know it's a special effect. And of course, sometimes you're watching and you're like, oh, that whole body is clear. That can't be real. You know that. But there's so many scenes, countless scenes throughout all of Ex Machina, which is just a beautiful, seamless special effect. And it's also never affects the actual film, which is a true horror movie. So
and it's groundbreaking technology
Yes.
too. He was telling, how she has those bands around her and those points, those are the tracking dots. So it's you don't have to have someone on set who's covered in ping pong balls. So everybody around her can give their best performance for that reason too.
Yeah, it was just really cool, and you guys know I loved that movie. It was my number one of the year last year, and I think for that film to win, it was also to go up against those beasts,
monsters.
Yeah, man. I mean, you had Mad Max, The Martian, Revenant, and Star Wars, and for that movie to pull out the win, that says a lot for exactly what you were just saying there. The way that they put in all that detail, and it felt like a real science fiction movie. And I said it, I think when we talked about it last time, one of those short stories that you read in school, about those really cool sci-fi stories. And for them to win, I think was a great, because how much was that budget? It was what, 30 million, 40
something
million?
like that. But honestly, it stands up to repeat viewings too.
Totally.
Ex Machina I've seen 3 times now, and I like it better every time I see it.
Ex Machina grew on me. When I saw it at South by last year and I reviewed it, and I think I might have given it a B or something. I walked out and I'm like, I'm not that wowed by this. And the more I watched it, I look back at that review and I'm like, geez, I wish I could change it now.
I know. I was kind of a jerk about it myself when it first came out. I was like, it was all right, and then I was like, what fool was I? when I saw it.
Mark,
It's so much better than what I said.
Mark, what do we rate it?
We can't give
5
it
out of
5 out of
5.
schmoes.
Yeah.
But,
Whatever.
we also
Whatever,
get some
schmoes.
we're also on Cinefix's list. So
Cinefex, get it right, fool.
Any surprises? Other surprises for you guys?
I mean, the one I would say that kind of bummed me out. I would have taken. I don't want to sound like a hater, but I would have taken any other song other than the Sam Smith.
Oh,
song.
yeah, I know.
Everyone kind of had a collective
Hating on it.
And
I haven't
when
seen a
it
boo
won.
like that since
Yeah.
Brave won.
Oh man.
Spectre Disc is one of those movies that, because I still think I walked out of it like, it just wasn't as good as I thought it would
Yeah.
be. It's just one of those ones that wears on me and grinds on me. The song just did nothing for me, whereas Bond songs in the past have been something special. So maybe it's just because this particular one didn't live up to the Bond song legacy.
Right.
But it would have been nice to see The Weeknd take that home.
It also didn't help that performance was kind of, he's great. He sounds great. He's got a fantastic voice. But something about him being alone and with the graphics that were playing behind him, like that to me said, we didn't really like our title sequence, so we're not going to put that there.
Oh, with the weird like CG squid with
Yeah.
explosions and stuff.
Yeah, that.
I didn't like Spectre, and it started with that song.
Yeah. No, you're right.
I liked the whole scene, and with the Day of the Dead, all that kind of stuff. And then right after that ended, the rest of the movie was over for me. From that song to the very end, with no spoilers, Blofeld, and all that stuff.
And it doesn't
was
help
like-
that it was. This is the follow-up song to Adele's
Yeah.
Skyfall, which was
Right.
amazing.
Amazing.
It was
Yeah.
amazing, and you're so right, because I remember being in the theater with that scene. I was like, okay, it was a little over the top, old school Bond, but I
Right.
can deal with it. And that song came on, I was like, I didn't love
Yeah.
that song.
Then the
I
rest
started
of it-
falling asleep.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
song.
less and less.
Yeah, well, how did he have all that time to make those Xeroxes of all the villains that he saw and like
Right.
pasted up in the weird? It was like, who's the set decorator for Blofeld? Give him an F. Here's a little thing I made at Kinko's. Remember him? Stupid. Anyway,
I don't feel like there was any snubs this year. Did you guys? I didn't feel like there
I
was
mean,
any.
the only one people could say is
the
Stallone,
Stallone
but
with
I
the
mean,
Mark
but
Rylance?
Rylance. I mean, Rylance really. I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah, and I was just still bummed out because they had one shot of Ridley Scott sitting there, and it's like Ridley Scott, he's enjoying himself, but he's also like, man, I should have been nominated for
it's
this.
for best comedy, right, guys?
Come
on.
The
It's
Martian is
funniest
such
show.
a funny movie. It's
So
there's so
funny.
much slapstick goofiness in that. It's hilarious.
It's impressive though that Inarritu won again, because it's like, and don't quote me on this, but I think because 2 years in a row hasn't happened for directing since like the 30s or
Yes,
something.
you're very
been a
correct.
while.
He was the last
Yeah.
guy to do it.
And that he won
Yeah.
the DGA was sort of like, oh, that's usually prescient to prescient
Isn't
to
that
like
nuts?
winning the Oscars.
And that cinematographer is now 3 for 3.
Yeah,
his
man.
last 3.
Gravity,
Yep.
Birdman, and
Yep.
now The Revenant.
What do those guys got coming up next? Have they announced it yet too?
I don't think so.
The Expendables 4.
Is there any shot for them to win next year? Like what are they coming
I
out?
don't think so. But I was kind of hoping that maybe they would have given it to George Miller just because like they're like, okay, but then The Revenant ended up not winning Best Picture, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and so I guess that's kind of why. I don't know. I'm not.
I'll say
too
this
sure.
about Mad Max Fury Road. I was gunning for it for all of everything. I just wanted to win everything. I knew it wasn't going to realistically win everything, but on our little thing, I checked it off for almost everything. But I'm specifically happy it won for editing because that's George Miller's other half. She's incredibly talented. Margaret Sixel is her name, and I found out by going to see Fury Road and Road Warrior again. And Miller was there in the audience a couple weeks ago here in LA, that she basically edited that entire film silent. And that's how she edits. She with no sound and no music or anything. So she cuts the whole film together just by the visual presence of a scene, of a shot.
Awesome.
And then they add the sound effects and the music and the design. So
And
there's-
now you'll have a million more editors trying to do that.
No, but
and
it's-
probably not doing it
You're
as
going
well.
to get fired if you try it.
Yeah.
But
I
I
know.
think it is, all these kinds of things, as an editor myself, I think it's really brave to try different experiences when you're editing visual picture. And sound is half of your battle. So it's nice to take it away because you're always going to be able to rely on that. Sound design, music, sound effects, all that stuff. That's half of a movie, basically. Like getting the right shots and the picture and the order of the scene and building that kind of manic insanity that Road Warrior had, where you're like at the edge of your seat the whole film, only when they wanted to give you a break. Oh, here's a little break for you. And then you're back on it.
Right.
That's the magic of editing. So.
Well, speaking of sound, Mad Max also on sound editing and sound mixing, which
Yes.
some of us, and including myself, thought Star Wars might win those.
Yeah, I was thinking Star Wars because I wanted to see Star Wars get some sort of recognition. But look, to be honest, as a monster Star Wars fan, just getting to see C-3PO, R2-D2, and BB-8 come out on stage and have it be a fun little bit, that's worth the Oscar for me. Like it doesn't. I know that it would have made those people who worked very very hard on the movie and the sound design and all that stuff feel great about themselves, but you were part of one of the biggest movie experiences of all time, so it's not a bad consolation
Let me
prize.
congratulate Mark Mangini. You're awesome. I got a chance to hang out with him. He did the sound mixing and sound design for Mad Max, and this was several months ago, and he was so proud of that. This was before they even announced the Oscar nominations, but I remember him talking about that particular film and how incredibly immersed he was in it. So it's great to see someone like that win, and you know all the work that they did for it. So
The only reason I'm pissed about them winning sound mixing was that that was the first one that killed my streak.
Well, yeah, but you and Josh McCouga
We were doing so well for
ended
a while.
up winning.
We did,
our
we
I think
did.
Perry legitimately won. I think McCouga cheated.
Like he went to like
I'll
some
buy that.
site and
I'll buy that.
like copied off
Hey,
someone.
I don't trust that guy.
I was here the whole time. I watched people fill out their ballots. McCouga didn't cheat, as much as I want to believe it too.
Right.
McCouga, Perry, and Ann Campia, John's wife, split the pot, and I do what I always do. I start out really hot, and then I go so cold, it's like goddamn frozen. It's ridiculous.
Well, you and me didn't do too bad.
We came back at the end because
Yeah.
we got all the big six except for Sylvester Stallone.
It's those little ones.
No,
that
I
get
got
you.
that one.
The,
I
like,
got Mark Rylance.
best,
But I
short
missed Best
documentary
Picture.
and stuff.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't even know what that is. Marbles Girls,
Right. Best shoe size.
Valhalla
Yeah.
number 7.
That's when you
I've
start
never-
guessing on the title.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I had time to watch all these things, but we cover so many things here: movies, television, all that stuff.
As I was filling the ballot out, I was like, I hope this is not what the actual Academy of members do. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't see any
And
of
you
these
know
short
that you
documentaries.
know some of them do.
You totally know that shit happens.
Yeah.
You know? World of Tomorrow. I didn't see Bear Club or whatever that fucking thing that did win.
I voted for Bears because I wrote Bears. Fuck yeah. It's got Bears in it, and I won. And I ended up winning that category.
You're like, if the Revenant's bear is not going to win, this bear will.
All right, so besides the best supporting actor, I think actor, the other three were pretty much what we thought it was,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
We had Alicia Vikander as best supporting actress for the reasons that we said in the pre-show. We had Brie Larson winning best actress. I think you were pretty happy about
I am
that.
so happy, and she had such a fantastic
Great speech.
Yeah.
It
Probably
was just
my
so
favorite
well
speech.
composed.
Of
Yeah.
I don't think there was a standout speech this year compared
Leo's
to
was
other
pretty
season.
good.
Huh?
Leo's was
pretty good.
amazing.
His
I thought.
was, but then it kind of went into another area at the
politics?
At the end.
No,
Yeah.
but I like that it
Yeah.
did. I mean, that's
I
what's
don't
great about the
personally mind
Oscars.
it.
I thought it was
personally don't
fitting
mind
for the
it, but-
movie, though. I honestly thought because it was
Yeah.
a great transition from what the movie was about into a message we know that he's very passionate about
Yeah.
and something that he fights for. So I actually thought it was a good moment for him to do it because it wasn't just kind of thrown in there. It was the dude's smooth. It was a smooth transition all the way through, and it was his moment. And you can tell he's been working. I think there was kind of a mixture of a few speeches that he's written in the past,
Yeah.
kind of hoping. But like,
Yeah, the one
took the
for
highlights.
Aviator,
yeah,
the one
Scorsese was
for-
thanked in there, and but again, that moment I think was the moment everybody was waiting for because there was a big cheer.
It's really important to mention climate change because our own government denies it. So it's really important when you have a captive audience to be like, sorry, we're experiencing it. This is how we experience it. We had to move our entire set because the snow won't hang out.
Oh, yeah.
you know?
I mean, look, if I had won an Oscar that I've been waiting for 20 years, and when I receive it, I get a standing ovation.
Yeah, right.
The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say every supermodel in the room, the Ford Fusion, is parked out back. Just go ahead and see yourself in there, and we'll get to you when we can. This guy actually manages to hold it together and make a political statement of note that I thought it was good. The only complaint that I could shoot the barb at it that it did feel like he was practicing that thing for like 10 hours straight before he got it, which he probably was because he knew he was going to do this. As with Brie Larson, she knew she was going to win this thing, and I thought her speech was short, sweet. It was perfect.
Yeah.
I just thinking about you about him doing this speech before and just scratching out Scorsese. Inarritu.
Yeah, and he had to do that. It was a nice moment. I think it's one of the moments that most people are going to be talking about because everyone's always saying, "Why does the Academy hate him?" And I said this on Movie Talk, I think 2 weeks ago or even 3 weeks ago. I changed my stance on it because I had Fassbender for a long time, Fassbender and Redmayne as a two, but then as you started to see the momentum shift and he started winning everything, it was pretty much a given that he was going to win tonight.
It was a nice thing that you could feel part of it too.
Yeah.
Like him winning became like a
Yeah.
communal
A
thing,
thing.
Yeah,
and you
it
could,
did.
I mean, you could tell it from the standing ovation. But even like the reaction in that room, like I happened to have been standing in the back, and when his name was announced, I felt great, and I looked around and like everyone had a smile
that was
on
the
their
only
face.
one that all of us were clapping
Everyone
for.
cheered,
And I
yeah.
said in the pre-show, I personally had Michael Fassbender as my favorite performance this year, but it was good to see Leo win.
It would have been great to see Fassbender's speech, though, where he's like, I'd like to thank Ashton Kutcher for setting the bar right here. But, yeah, I'm glad Leo won.
I was going to say, I mean, I am not a big. I didn't like The Revenant as much as everyone else did. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. In fact, I didn't want it to win the Oscar. It did. But Leo, I said, does deserve the Oscar because he was a great and amazing actor in an okay film. You know, for myself, I personally thought Mad Max should have won because, at least in my opinion,
you mean for directing?
No, for Best Picture.
He
Well,
didn't
no,
win Best
Spotlight
Picture.
won.
I know it didn't.
No, Spotlight.
No,
won.
I know.
He says Revenant.
I'm sorry. I'm saying The Revenant didn't win, but Leo did, and I'm
Right.
glad that happened. I thought
okay.
Leo deserved to win because he was a great actor in a not as great film. So
Yeah, I was a little surprised, not totally surprised that Spotlight won. I thought the way everything was going, that The Revenant was going to pull out the victory at the end with Leo winning, with Inarritu winning, cinematography. Spotlight, the only thing it won before, I think, was original screenplay, right?
Yeah, but if you look, that's the thing though. To me, that's why I had Spotlight winning, and the reason why is because I think that for what the awards that Revenant won for were the directing and the cinematography and the performance, but not the overall film. Because I think that was what everybody was kind of zoning in on. Like you look at the achievements of what all those people did, and they were rewarded for it. But Spotlight to me I think was the movie what it proved to be was the movie that everyone said that was just the powerful film. That was the one that took us back, and I think that's why it won. That's to me still I think was the better movie. As far as story goes, I thought that to me moved me a little. I loved Revenant. I saw it twice, and I really dug it, and think that it deserved everything that it won tonight. But Spotlight, I really think was the one that should have deserved and did.
It was an Academy Award shaping up to be a message kind of award show. So if you have, it doesn't matter whether it's boycotts or whether it's climate change or if it's going to be a scandal in the Catholic Church. That's a more important and more modern message than anything you'll see in The Revenant, which is great. But it's basically a revenge story. As soon as Mad Max did not win Best Director, I was like, okay, there's not going to be a huge upset here for Best Picture. Because if George Miller had one for Mad Max, I'm like, that movie is completely hijacking these Oscars, maybe in a fun way, and that could win Best Picture. As soon as George Miller did not get that statue, I think it did belong to Spotlight, and justly so.
I really thought it was going to be The Revenant. It's hard not to hear Mad Max and The Revenant all night long, and then you hit that point and it doesn't get it. But at the same time, up until maybe last week, Spotlight was my pick for Best Picture, and it just goes to show it's not always about numbers and who won what award before, or even just like box office numbers. It's a message that everyone can get behind. That movie did that story justice, and it's pretty much the best version of that movie we could have gotten.
Yeah, but I mean, personally, for me, I don't need the Best Picture winner to have a message.
Yeah.
For me, it's the best movie. My favorite movie last year was Mad Max Fury Road. There's no big, deep message in that movie. So
survive.
Yeah.
That's always a big issue whenever anyone's doing a top 10, though. Is it the top 10 best movies, or is it your top 10 personal movies?
Right.
And I feel like every single year when I post my top 10 list, my opening paragraph is always explaining these are the movies that entertain me most. It's not like the best filmmaking. It's the ones that I love.
Yeah, I mean, Spotlight definitely had a place in my top 10, and it didn't quite crack my top 5 because there were too many movies like The Martian or like Star Wars that I just so loved watching, or Ex Machina or Creed or The Revenant. It's like I loved watching those movies more than Spotlight, but Spotlight did have a very important message, and the Academy likes to do that kind of stuff, and I did think it was a worthy victor of holding that Oscar statue.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it winning. I'm just saying that it doesn't always have to be, such a lofty, theme or message.
We do need Michael Keaton on stage winning.
Yeah.
I don't even care if he's in the movie from now on. Let Michael Keaton go on stage.
And eat those Girl
blazed-
Scout cookies. He was like popping those, like,
Towards the end when I was on the carpet, I looked over as he was moving in. Dude just shows up with the sunglasses and just blazes in like. And it was just so good.
Keaton did?
awesome.
Keaton was blazed in, and I was just like, that is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. I didn't want him to talk.
I
He's
hope
Batman.
there's footage of that.
He's
I hope
Batman.
so. He just kind of walks in. Him and Tom Hardy had great sunglass entrances.
Nice.
Well, he's been on stage now for both Best Picture winners for the
Yeah.
last 2 years.
Yeah.
Though unfortunately he didn't win Best Actor last year.
Yeah, Schnepp still heard about that.
I'm
I'm still hurt about that as well.
we were Birdman people
Yes.
last year.
Yes. So
Bird
any
peeps.
any last thoughts in terms of the show at all?
No, I'm just curious. We mentioned Inarritu. Like, what's he doing next? Like, is he going to be able? Probably not, because we're going to hear of him coming out with anything. But just to see what that guy's career, what he's doing, like to see him hit as big as he did the last 2 years, it's an impressive thing, man. Because like Revenant, the fact, I mean, because I know you didn't love the movie, but being a director too, and we've talked about this, like what he accomplished. It's
incredible.
It's incredible with the natural light and all that stuff. And from what you hear is that the crew hated him, hated everything that he was doing. But there's a reason why behind it. And there's certain artists like that, and you see him when he's working with Leo and working with Tom Hardy, what he's able to get out of those guys. The guy is one of the best.
Yeah.
And let's not forget that, look, Mark Rylance, he deserved to win Best Supporting Actor, but that movie, in 5 years from now, it's a trivia question, whereas 20, 30, 50 years from now, Rocky is still going to have a legacy that inspires generations of people to get out there and go for a jog. I think overall, I really enjoyed watching this Oscar ceremony. I thought Chris Rock was a great, timely host for what this season was. And one of my favorite presenters was Louis C.K., because when he came up and you watched him, the first half of that, he was just getting warm, and it's like, oh, man, this crowd's getting tight on him. They're going to tighten up, and then he just started dropping bombs on the best documentary short subject, and it was hilarious to watch. I love when a comic can hang in the pocket, know he's got something funny to deliver, and it ends up crushing in the crowd. It was great to see.
He's the one that threw out the Mad Max joke too, right? That was a good one. I had a blast, and I think it actually might be, just being here and being with a group of people who are so enthusiastic about it, and also the pacing of this, and thank God it was a fast pace for Stacey Dash, because she couldn't have got off that stage any faster. But I just
it was so awkward.
How weird
that was an awkward
That was pretty
moment.
much the only thing that felt completely dead, where there wasn't a peep in the room, and it was insanely awkward. But overall, I really appreciated people pointing out in the speeches, just appreciate what we do. We are artists that make these great movies, and it's a collective too. I think it was Brie Larson who said that in her speech. She she started big, and she went out of her way to thank festivals. Like, who thanks a festival?
I know.
Right.
Festivals and A24, just acknowledging the fact that you might be winning an individual award, but you're not going to get that unless the entire team is working together on something. I mean, goes to show, it's like what I brought up earlier with Jennifer Lawrence and Joy. She couldn't carry that movie alone. I mean, that might not be exactly why she got her nomination and why she didn't win or whatnot, but it's a team effort. I like that so many people were pointing that out tonight.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, that's the greatest thing about the Oscars or anything if you're involved in media. It's team playing. It's not like you wrote a book. That's usually just you. If you're making a film, you're working with all these different people, costume designers, makeup. I mean, it's a team effort, and it's great to see everyone kind of thank each other's team. I know they have the scrolling stuff at the bottom, and a few people got played out by the music, but for the most part, everyone got to say what they needed to say without being rushed off the stage. I think that's really important, especially when it's the Oscars. It's a culmination of what the thing that you're working towards as far as any kind of an award. Usually, the film itself is an award enough and a reward enough, but to be thanked by all the community around you, that's a big thing. So I like that they give everyone the chance to say what they have to say.
All right, guys, so that's it for our post-Oscars show. I want to thank you guys for joining us. Let us know in the comment section who you thought should win, who you were happy about winning. What do you think were the funniest moments? Who do you think maybe got snubbed? All right, Christian, why don't you tell people where you can find you?
Well, you can find me at Christian Harloff, Twitter and Instagram. If you want to check out the interviews that I did for Fandango, you can go to their Fandango Movie Clips Originals channel. Go check that out, as well as my Facebook page, where I have a lot of the pictures and some of the Facebook Live videos that I'm doing as well.
Mark?
Hey, at Mark Ellis Live on Twitter and all the social media stuff. And tomorrow you can find a bunch of us on Movie Talk talking once again about the Oscars. Also, everything that went down at the box office this past weekend. And Alien and Predator movies get release dates?
What?
Oh, my God. You got to tune into that.
And Perry, where can people find you?
That fit in the Oscar show. You can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at pnemiroff.
Yep.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, just at John Schnepp. Get my film that wasn't Oscar nominated, The Death of Superman Lives. What happened? At TDOSLWH.com. And find me tomorrow talking about movies here on Movie Talk.
And you can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, on Instagram, Dennis.tzng. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Collider videos. And yeah, tomorrow we got a brand new Movie Talk. I think the four of us are going to be here. And then Perry, you're going to be on, I think, Thursday and Friday as well.
I will, yes.
So yeah, check out for that. And thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys later.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.